This is a 3D printed dog that can be found on ThingIVerse. I downloaded the files and 3D printed the parts. It has very good instructions for building it on Instructables. I made a couple of changes to the original design. The original electronics gets 5 volts from the Maestro servo controller, which is powered by the batteries. The documentation on the 18 channels controller, which I used, they actually used a 12 channel servo controller, says it can provide 100 milliamps at 5 volts, but it uses 50 milliamps. So there's only about 50 milliamps available to power other devices, and that's a quote. The Teensy consumes approximately 100 milliamps of current according to its documentation. So I added a DC-DC power supply to move the 7.4 volt battery voltage to 5 volts for the processor. The processor also outputs 3.3 volts to the radio chip. I also replaced the 3D printed top parts with a laser cut top of the same dimensions and 3D printed two 4-cell 18650 lithium ion battery holders, which I designed. The batteries are hooked 2 in series, so you have 7.4 volts nominal, then 4 sets of batteries in parallel. A battery is about 2500 milliamps, so you have around 10 amps of total power. I found the radio board to be picky about where it was placed inside near the servos. I think the servos give off a lot of electrical noise, so I moved it on top of the batteries. That solved the problem. You can see the radio in a lot of the pictures. I added some print statements to the firmware to help me watch what was happening. I really think the firmware was well written, and the dog has lots of movements. It can go forward, backwards, sideways, turn right and left. It can stand on its head. It can stand on its behind. The only change to the software is if you have software serial in your Arduino libraries loaded, you need to remove it. The Teensy software has its own version, and if you have them both loaded, it'll cough up an error and won't compile. This was another fun project with lots of pictures. The CAD files made it easy to create a new part for the top to mount the batteries. Thanks to the designer for providing them. I have Autodesk Fusion 360, and they provided a 360 file. The green feet were printed in NinjaFlex filament, but don't seem to have any traction, so it doesn't really move the way I thought it would move. If you have any ideas on how to change the feet so they seem to grab the carpet better, I'd appreciate it. Thanks for watching.